Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I actually have some more art to unbox. Um, like I said before, it kind of goes in phases. You know, I feel like I did get something for a while, and now like back to back I've had some deliveries in the mail. So yeah, we're just gonna jump into it. It is a package from Scott Kress, Catskill Comics. What do I do with my box cutter? Here it is. Yeah, so we'll just open it up. There's actually two things in here, and we'll obviously talk about both. So it's opened up here. Okay, all right, we'll start with this. The fun thing about this this channel, you know, I get to share, you know, the things that I buy and talk about it, and it's fun to do that. The other thing I find that it does is it catches me in lies. I'm just a big old liar. Before I said I was done with what this is, and here we are. Here's more of it. Color guides. Have more color guides. It's another issue of Superman. It's Superman issue 131 from Ron Frenz and Joe Rubenstein. Now, there's a very specific reason why I bought this one, and if anyone, you know, it might be already obvious why I bought this one. But this is a very Lex heavy issue. It's a kind of a backstory. There's some things going on in the present day, but it gives a backstory of a story when Lex was a kid, and but it's got some Superman is only in a couple pages, but some really cool images. For instance, here's page 4. That one. That's a really great Superman image. He's helping in this issue. He's helping the military. So again, good old Superman blue. So here he is on this ship, diving down into the water. And then this next page is obviously why I bought this issue. That is the page that I bought at auction recently. One of the collection goals, I mean, I don't know if I'd say it was absolutely a goal or a necessity, but I always thought it would be cool to have, you know, the color guide to a page that I owned. So, and since I was able to get this at auction recently, and then I knew that there were still a lot of color guides available on Catskill Comics, I was like, all right, well, I won that page, so I guess I'm getting that issue of color guide. So it just made sense to get that. I just think it's just a really cool opportunity to have both, you know, both parts of the production process. So you have the pencils and the inks, and then the color guide. So again, colors by Glenn Whitmore, who colored like everything in that era. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't think I was going to be buying more color guides. The rest of the issue is very just Lex heavy, and it goes into the flashback of when Lex was a kid. So there's not many other images of Superman, but the ones that it does have in this issue, there's like a really couple tiny panels. But the ones that it does are fun, especially those early splash pages. I like that. So that's like I love the coloring on this. There's an assassination that happens, and I just thought that's a very impactful panel. The silhouette of a murder victim, but and then Lex, of course, you know, has the hired. Eliminates the assassin, because that's just who Lex is. But this last page is pretty cool. It is while this is going on, talking about Lex's past, his daughter Lena is born, and at the very end, you know, there's a splash of him, you know, looking over the city, you know, with his newborn daughter. So that's a cool, you know, cool Lex moment. from this era. So yeah, so I don't feel, even though I really only wanted it for the page that I purchased. It's there are some like other really cool images in this issue. So uh, you know, and I feel so bad about having to buy the whole issue. So yeah, so that's the first thing that was in the package. Now the next thing is something you've seen before, and I had said that when I made my decision on what this was going to be, I would share it. So here we are. Um, yeah, so let's get this out, and then we will talk about what I decided, why I decided it, and yeah, well, I guess I can just talk about it now. Just kidding. So let me get it undone here. All right. So what this is, yeah, that's looking good. So this is my OAX commission from Dan Jurgens, and this is back from Brett Breeding, also repped through Catskill Comics. So I talked about earlier, if I was gonna do inks over pencils, or if I was going to do a copy. Here, I'll put this down. I'll put the image up there. So what I decided was to go traditional, and these are inks directly over Dan's pencils. The main deciding factor, I talked to Dan about it. I talked to collector friends, and some people had really wanted me to keep the pencils. Keep the pencils and have the commission inked a copy. I have a Doomsday that my first commission, which I also have another video about that one. That was a convention sketch that I had Dan. I still have the pencils from Dan. Then Brett inked a copy of that, and then I have the color stage, the final stage that Glenn also colored a copy. So I have something where I have the examples of. I still have the each example still in my collection. This one was originally when I set out to do this, my goal was to have a piece where they both worked on it. They both worked on the same board, Dan and Brett. And then I got those pencils, and the pencils looked really good. So I was tempted to keep them as is, but ultimately I stuck to my guns, and I went with what I originally envisioned for this piece. And I just think that it looks really, really clean. I just think having the inks on the pencils, I think you get a better single image when you're done with it. I look at it and I know that it was Dan worked on this board, and then Brett inked over it. Obviously, the process is cool to see, but this one, it just felt like such a kind of special piece. It was I mentioned it before, but the layout it's an unused omnibus cover submission that Dan submitted to DC that was not ultimately chosen, but it's one that I really liked. Dan had mentioned that when he posted this online that he really liked it, and it's a piece that I just it had to be done. A buddy of mine, Matt, McAllister, he had talked about approaching this concept and having Dan revisit this as well, and then he went a different direction, and I said, this is too good to not have Dan and Brett tackle. So I went ahead and I went with this one just because it's such a really great layout. I mean, it sells the idea of the death and return of Superman so well. You have the central figure of Superman is just his silhouette, but but it's so bold because the S pops off there. You have this the cape there still, but his figure is blacked out, so that really represents the death well. And then you have the four replacements that are kind of operating in his shadow. So to have that have the Superman figure be in shadows or silhouette, it just fits. It just makes so much sense. And yeah, it just I think it's a great single image representing the death and return so well. And I also like that Dan had on the original layout, Dan did not have the cape, the S or the flag cape from Superman 75, but then he added that at OAX. So yeah, so having them both on here is great. So that was ultimately it was what made me think like I really want a piece that has that they both worked on and on one board. And you still get there's little hints here and there of Dan's work. You can kind of see a little bit of pencils that were erased, but they're still there. So I just think that ultimately is more of what I wanted to look at. I still have a really great high res scan of the pencils, so I can still appreciate what Dan did, but just it was too good of an opportunity to have it all on one board. So and actually, so I actually had a couple conversations with Dan. One of the conversations was actually at OAX, and it dealt with him signing the piece. And he said, "Well, if you're going to keep it pencils, then I'll just sign it in pencil." Um, so, and I was like, "Well, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, so let's just keep it as a pencil signature, and then if I have the board inked, by Brett, then I'll revisit and I'll have Dan, erase that and sign it in ink, and I'll actually see him again this year. He'll be at Baltimore Comic Con in the fall, so I'll take this with me there." He'll get to see it again in person once it's inked. So that'll be a treat for him as well. So yeah, then he'll sign it, and then it'll be done. Now the question is, do I have it colored by Glenn? That would be really cool, and that's something I might think about doing. And again, you'll see it here if I do. So yeah. I just nothing. I mean, it's like I don't want to say I was speechless. I'm not speechless, but like it's so hard to articulate just how much I love their work. Dan and Brett are a great pairing. They just it looks amazing, and it just takes me back, and I talk about it a lot. I obviously you know, I love this stuff. I love the death and return of Superman. And anytime I get something from those creators, specifically, it's that feeling is not topped. Like on almost any other piece of art that I get, and I love, I love the things that I buy, but when it comes to these creators, these characters, there's nothing better in my mind when it comes to the feeling that I get when I open a package and see the art, and also when I flip through portfolio or see the stuff that's framed on the wall. Yeah, it's just, and I'm kind of like just my mind is wandering at this point, but it's just my mind is wandering back to like the feelings that I had when I was a teenager, when I was reading this stuff, and when I first when I first read it. It's a beautiful thing, and that's what you know. I don't get a lot of commissions. I do buy commissions, but it's so hard to pass up the opportunity to have these guys create something new from this era that I can appreciate. So yeah, there's no better feeling. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this one, for watching me stumble through me just staring at this because I just love it so much. So thank you to Dan for doing this one. Thanks to Brett for inking it. Thanks for Scott for facilitating the back and forth, and yeah, man, love it. So yeah, so thanks again, and I'll see you soon.